Do you believe in the existence of extraterrestrials?
They're here.
Oh, hold on a second. Oh my gosh, hold on. No. Good evening, good morning, or good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this wonderful episode of Disclosure tonight. Happy Monday, March 31st, 2024, and yes, I started the show without turning the camera on, so without any further ado, let's jump into the studio and welcome in our wonderful audience. Yeah, that's right, folks. Let's go ahead and see who's out in the chat right now. Let me go ahead on that note, start up the drums. And here we go. Let's see who the heck we have out there in the audience tonight. We have Anne Marie and Anton Ghost along with April R. Coleman. Good to see you, April. Rick Mox Germany's here, along with Conniving Bones and Craig Smith. I see Kermudge in Alaska. You're new. No, I think I recognize you. How could I ever miss a Kermudge in Alaska? We got David Dickinson, Don G, Destiny Rocks, and Dizzy Lizzy 1036. To look at that, we got DJ KN and Ed Brown and Eli McGinnis, along with Firefly, Geraldine Durazio, and Gringo Suave. Would you look at that? Howling Husky is right over here. Along with J-Cat, Jeff Pearson, John Mooner, and Juliana Reverbal. Well, we got Julie Boyce. Good to see you. Along with Cap K, Kathy, and Kelly Broughton with piercing blue eyes. Good to see you again, Kelly. Thanks for stopping in. Before the show, we got to thank Clipper for coming out here, along with Margaret Leach, Megan Betts, Mr. Grimlock, Mr. Joey B, along with Clipper, and Nancy Kuzmano, and our resident Pitbull, Niles guy. Thanks for coming in, Pitbull, as always. Don't be afraid to bite. That's why you're here. Rough Freddy's here, along with Sam and Sergi and Stephen Forbes and the super unknown. Well, not the, but I added in because next we have the Chromosome Cowboy and the Coin 405, followed by Tom Clark, two midgets on a horse, our favorite duo, followed by William Underwood, Woody Clark, and Yellow Tommy Tanker, also known as Andy. How about that? Andy's listening at work. Thank you for being here, my friend. On that note, let's go take a look and see who we have in the back to be hanging out for today's panel. Great show we're talking about. Yes, it's not just Gary Nolan, but also we got to have a great long clip coming from Carl Nell, almost saying the same thing. So let's go ahead and get to the back and see what we have here. Our first friends coming to us from the great state of Florida. Let's welcome, the best things always happen in Florida. You see it on X, you see it on everywhere. Let's welcome our dear friend Alice. Don't let us down.
That is so true. Hey Thomas, how you doing? Hi everyone.
Alice, I watch a ton of different videos that are out there that are like police pullovers and all that kind of stuff.
Crazy. It's Florida.
And the most crazy stuff we usually see, usually in Florida.
In Florida, man.
Oh, yeah. Especially down in the Keys. Some really amazing people. They're really beautiful, I got to tell you. Wow.
I've got some pics you wouldn't believe.
Yeah. I almost would think that this person may be from Florida.
My next door neighbor.
Oh, I've had some of those up here in Washington. They live in the, well, yeah. 3 trailers down and on the left. Thank you for coming in today, Alice. Our next friend's coming to us. We missed you. She's back from the great state of Colorado. Let's welcome in Ashes. How you doing, my dear lady?
Come on down to Disclosure tonight. It's Monday Fun Day.
Yeah.
And for the question of, do you believe in extraterrestrials? Well, yes, I do.
That's why I changed it up today, and then the phone got answered by saying,
They're here.
Ooh, I like it.
Oh gosh,
I like it.
I know that's from Poltergeist, but yeah, man, it applies that spookiness to the whole UFO phenomenon. Thank you for coming in today, my dear lady.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Our next friend is known as Ed Brown, but he's also our recliner in chief. Coming to us from the great state of Texas. Let's welcome our dear friend Ed. How's it going, Ed?
It's going real well, Thomas, and I've got that chair down pat. I mean, it's fighting me, but I'm bucking it. And I got to tell you, Alice, you may have some weird people there, but we got some real people in Texas. Texas is the place to be.
Oh yeah,
it is. And also, Ashley, whatever you're taking tonight, pass me one of them, would you? You're sounding like you're really wound up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Mocha's got it. Very much. Also, let's now move on to our next friend coming to us from Wisconsin. Gosh, did you see Elon Musk? He was up there yesterday or today, Laura?
Yep, he's buying an election or trying to.
Well, I don't think he's technically trying to buy it. He's just trying to, well, make people aware to get out and vote. It's an important thing.
Yeah, he's writing checks to people. It's nice.
Well,
some voters got
technically
$1 million.
Technically, it's considered a contest, and it's completely legal, and it's completely within the scope and capabilities of whether or not people think, "Oh my God, this is illegal." How can they be doing it? Ask a lawyer; they'll tell you.
Do whatever he wants to with his money. It's fun to watch.
I know. Need to get him up coming from a plane and just. Or driving by his Tesla, just throwing out money behind him. He can afford it.
Over Lambeau Field during a game. That'll be fun.
Oh, that'd be nice. Gosh.
Or
just have the cash eject cannons that are on the side of his vehicle. Presses the button off to the sides like confetti.
Free Teslas for everyone.
That'd be the kind
they
of Rip
smell
Taylor.
A little smoky, but they still work.
Just polish out those. Great at a discount price. Let's welcome in our next friend coming to us from the great state of Canada. Yeah, I hear it's the province where all the U's are silent, eh? Let's welcome in Mr. Michael Sukloff. Michael, how's it going?
How's it going, Thomas?
Yeah, see. So. Yourself?
Come see, come saw is how you say it.
Yeah. That's another way of saying it, but thank you.
Just trying to teach you a little French there.
Yeah, I know French I know German better than I know French, and I don't want to know Germans. That out there.
Right.
Exactly. Ex-nay on the ex-wife. No.
All right.
Got it. Right between the eyes. All right, let's focus and bring in our next guest. Coming to us from great state of Hawaii, let's welcome in Mr. Actually, no, what am I talking about? Sergeant Daly, USMC. He's a masshole from Massachusetts.
That's how you doing. What's going on? I like being a masshole sometimes, you know.
We got to have fun with it. After all, it is 6:14 p.m., and I am feeling a bit punchy today. So let's go with it and have some fun.
That's 9:15 here, so.
Yeah. Hear that, Mike? It's 9:15 your time. Mike, do you know where your children are? He's probably chasing him around the house right now, trying to get him to get into bed. That's why he's not here yet, but he'll show up eventually.
I think I could help you out there, Thomas. I really have been listening to him for a long time, and I've got it down.
Yeah.
You ready for this?
Hey, Thomas.
Hey, Thomas. We're gonna have a good show tonight. We got a lot to show him. Let's roll that first clip.
Good idea. Oh, God, yeah. I've got a clip here somewhere. I just have to go find it. Now, where did I put those clips? That's what he... Got a clip here I know that I saved, and I didn't download it because I figure why. Our first clip we've got tonight, we're talking about... I've got... Before we get into the clips and everything, I need to give this a preface of what the heck we're talking about. If we go back to the title card of what we had up on the show before we get everything going here today, what I'm talking about, aliens are already here. Well, according to Gary Nolan, the case that aliens are already here, well, they're already here. Dr. Gary Nolan, who is a celebrated immunologist at Stanford University, a biotech entrepreneur who has firmly asserted his belief that aliens have already been here. In today's interview, Gary did go off and saying the evidence is not just suggestive, it's overwhelming. Now, for Gary, the debate isn't whether alien contact has happened, but why it's so difficult for the mainstream to accept what we all consider obvious. Now, Gary did acknowledge that this is his personal bias aside, but it's one grounded in data, experience, and firsthand interactions with classified information. Those who deny extraterrestrial presence, the doubters out there, you know, there's a lot of them, my friends. Gary suggests often do so from a place of ignorance or disbelief in the capabilities of advanced civilizations. Now, Gary brushes off the skepticism of figures like Neil deGrasse Tyson, arguing that technologies far beyond ours could easily transcend dimensional barriers, making interstellar or even interdimensional travel not just possible, but likely. Yeah, we are seeing something here from something way the hell out there, way to hell in here, like inner space, inner space kind of a thing. Blue's made hints about that in the past. Or from another dimension. Also think of the whole thing like spooky action at a distance with quantum entangled theory. Imagine if our world is entangled with another one and the stuff we're doing on here is affecting this other one over here, whether it's another dimension, another place. Is just one of those things we need to take on and understand. Now, just beyond physics, skipping the timelines and parallel realities, as Gary's compelling reasoning lies in, believe it or not, dimensional mechanics. The idea that alien civilizations don't necessarily need to travel through space in the way we imagine, just like I was just talking about. Instead of faster than light travel, Gary suggests that they skip across dimensions or timelines. If time is layered and disjointed, then a civilization has existed potentially for trillions of years, compared to our 14-year-old, billion-year-old universe could simply find a path to us over time. But just, again, that 14 billion year piece of time, it's an estimate, not... Trust me, as time goes on, they're going to keep on revising, and it's okay, because like humans have like one little grain of if the knowledge we have would be the size of a grain, imagine an entire world of a depth of information that's out there that we are still needing to learn. So let me go ahead. I've got an initial clip here from Gary talking about the possibility of telepathic communication from the let me go ahead and bring this up. Let's play it, and then we'll get back to talking about what's been going on. So let me bring this one up. I think that's that first clip you brought up and mentioned, Ed. Let's get to it. Here we go.
I mean, I see you, and you are, really just a collection of particles that have no actual form. Right, you just, at a higher level, you have matter, and I perceive you as a person. But at the end of the day, there's nothing there. You're just a bunch of waves, and we interact with each other through waves. Well, what happens if there's senses below yet still our full understanding using physics that are just on the edge of believability? That are actually the manner by which these things interact. So there's, and let's address one thing. There's claimed telepathy with these things. Well, I don't think that means it's magic. I just think that means it's a kind of technology that we don't. I mean, there are devices that can transmit sound into your head from a distance. Right, use the resonance cavity and transmit sound, to you. So, again, Elon Musk is making a neural link. And maybe a sufficiently advanced civilization can reach into your brain with electromagnetics very finely targeted and can manipulate your brain in a way that allows you to hear or see things. I have no problem believing that somebody a million years ahead of us might have achieved that level of sophistication.
I accept that this.
I just got to bring this up really quick. Interesting point coming in from Gary, but if you look at the whole part of being able to go telepathy potentially from a non-human intelligence down to a particular human, Laura, you may want to jump in on this one. It seems to me it's more of something of dealing with consciousness, more say than actually dealing with a technology to get it there. What do you think?
It is consciousness, but I was just listening to some scientists that determined that consciousness is related to non-locality. What did they say? I can't think of the word for it, but the microtubulars and the action that they do and how it can be influenced by different things. Geez, I can't remember. But yeah, there's scientific explanations for different things like this.
Okay, you bring up microtubules, which are known for people who do energy manipulation and healing with their hands. Have you heard about the material called ozokite that can be imported from the region called Georgia and is specifically used to, it's like a wax, petroleum, naturally occurring petroleum wax. You can heat it up to a certain temperature, put your hands in it, and then after it's on your hands, you can go ahead and pull it off, and then it basically opens up the microtubules in your hands. So when you're doing energy work, it basically just energy flows out of your fingertips.
I have not heard of that, but I would love to do some reading on that if you want to send it to me later.
Yeah, I'll be happy to send it to you. And
yeah,
guess what's in my living room? A big old chunk of ozokite and paraffin wax heaters. So yeah, if you're gonna do it right. All right.
And I was just talking to you before the show too, how they're using magnets. I was just talking about the Neorhythm device. Yep. It's this pulsed electromagnetic field therapy supportive. Right. And yep, so I'm going to be checking this out on some different equipment, seeing how it works. I birdied that remote viewer, Jaworski. She said it worked really well for her with remote viewing.
Right. Yeah, and since we've got Gary up, I'm sure he may have been involved in some of this stuff when he's doing experiments on the brain and such like that. They've even found that going and I believe they use what do you call it? Ultrasound.
Yes.
To go ahead and actually deaden and turn off parts of the brain. And what part of the brain? There's like an area in the brain where it connects the left side with the right side, and they go ahead and they expose it to it, and all of a sudden people's abilities, artistic talents, all this different stuff just like shoot off the freaking...
The corpus callosum?
That might be
it. Are you thinking? Okay.
Awesome. Well, let's get back to this. Thank you, Laura. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
All right, let's get back into the story for what we were just talking about. I'll let Gary talk in here in the back as we talk about it. So, yeah, instead of, okay. So, government pressure and potential lethal warnings. Gary did share in this interview that a disturbing moment when he was warned not to speak publicly about certain topics. He recounts a direct threat involving Title 18 of the U.S. Code, implying that by crossing a classified boundary, he could be subject to quote-unquote lethal force. The message was clear. Certain truths about alien encounters are considered matters of national security. This incident underscored, at least for Gary, just how serious and guarded the issue is and how the reality of an alien presence is far from fringe within high-level government circles. Now, this brings up a really good situation. We've heard a lot of stories going from a lot of different quote-unquote whistleblowers who have made a lot of claims about interacting with non-human intelligence agents and others ones that have come forward. The biggest thing to understand is if they were out there telling stuff about real occurrences that are happened, the whole lethal force thing is beyond a shadow of a doubt reality if things are discussed and they're brought up. I mean, Rick Doty, when he was around, was even talking about the termination clause. And hell, we even had David Grush getting death threats left written on a piece of paper on his kitchen table, which meant they were inside his house. Ed Brown, you have your hand up, my friend.
Well, I do, but I think there's two ways to look at this. One is people like Gary Nolan and all others that have these secret, top secret clearances. They're severely impacting their themselves if they disclose that information. But interestingly, it's not against the law to know something is happening that's classified if you're not read into it. I mean, if you don't have a clearance, like if you personally were driving down the street and run into the things that like someone that claims to be an alien, you would not get in trouble for reporting that. Whereas somebody that had a top secret clearance that knew they existed might well be the same thing.
But if this information was disclosed just to you and they had conversations about you saying that you're going to disclose it to other people, because it is a matter of national security, all laws pretty much get thrown out. So saying, yeah, they could tell us this, it's no longer, I'm not, if you want to call it, restricted from going ahead and talking about it. But if the classification is so high, and if the U.S. government thinks the threat level is that high, it sounds like they will not spare the chaff nor the rod.
Well, that's true. Well, I was in discussion with some people today that were kind of talking about this issue, and it surprises me that more people have not been punished for leaking what they're leaking, because leaks are just popping out all over the place now. People are talking that wouldn't have said this a year ago, 5 years ago. I remember, even when Lou first started talking, he did not definitively say that there were UFOs or alien life. He always pointed to, there's a possibility of it, or we might have it. Now he's much more outspoken, and everyone has come that way. So I think, we're on the edge of, at least among the community of believers, a pretty open discussion about this whole phenomena.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that, Ed. It's just, it's something, well, we just want the freaking truth. Enough of the secrets, enough of the delays that we talked about last week when we had Christopher Mellon, who wanted to go ahead and start bringing up the conversation. Gee, maybe we should start studying what's going to happen with humanity if the truth is wrong.
Well, I think we're on the edge of that. I think we see it more and more each day. Things are moving fast now.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Ed. Let's move on to Sergeant Daniel.
Yeah, I think he's an absolute genius. I think that's undisputed. And I also think that if they prosecuted someone like that, or any of them, they're not gonna be able to say, well, like that clown Himes, he's not gonna be able to say, oh, there's nothing there. The Air Force is seeing shit and we're doing stuff. And I think that once they point the finger at someone and say he just told the truth, and I mean, that's kind of, if you convict him, I guess he's telling the truth. So, it's an automatic disclosure if they start prosecuting people.
But in this particular place, it sounds like they got to him before he could talk about it.
Yeah, no, they probably did, but he doesn't look like he's that worried about it anymore.
Well, yeah, that's true. He's probably learned where the boundaries are of where I should go potentially, but it's great to see him trying to be outspoken for as much as he can. Now, the biggest thing, Daniel, is that, this is almost like a forbidden frontier of science. Despite Gary's credibility, Gary notes that alien research remains a forbidden frontier, an intellectual no-fly zone, as you could call it, in mainstream science.
The CIA brought him some stuff to examine, he said.
Yeah.
You mentioned before that, the CIA got involved. Obviously, they had an interest in him, so.
Yeah, they definitely did. Now, Gary describes it as cultural programming where even high-level scientists mock or dismiss the topic, not because of evidence, but because of social pressure, career risk, and outdated assumptions. That's the biggest thing. It's that that barrier that we've put in place, that pushback the world and community puts against people who bring out and try and talk about it, and it's just a shame. Ashes, you have your hand up, my dear lady.
Well, speaking about
stigma.
people getting approached to talk about it, I think another reason probably is that they don't want their lives uprooted and them discredited. Like people recently, wasn't it Jim Himes who kind of like dismissed David Grush?
Yes, it was. But James Himes has always been at that particular place.
Yeah, I agree. But I'm just saying that like a lot of people are dismissive of it, even though they realize that there's aliens among us. And the other thing is, if we did see an alien, right, driving down the street, how would we know that it was an alien? Because I mean, there's all kinds of like costumes and stuff, right, that are like really good and everything. But also, how are we supposed to know that they don't look like us? What if they look exactly like us? You know, or they can veil themselves to look exactly like us. We probably run into different beings all the time and don't even realize it.
But what I've heard, they're not like us. That they are completely, quote unquote, alien. Don't take any kind of human trait or thought or emotion and say, wow, these things are like us. From what I've heard, completely alien to what we are, how we think, how we behave.
I'm sure we definitely like can feel, you know, that anybody who is has emotion can feel stuff like that. Like when you get nervous around somebody who's creepy or weird, you can pick up on stuff like that if you're intuitive at all.
Yeah, exactly, Ashes. And it's just, because it comes down to perception and how we see things and being willing to see the bigger picture at times. Now, I do have another. Speaking
of time or perception, time is another perception that we have too.
Yes, it is. It's amazing. I can wake up from being sound asleep, and I'll guess what time it is. I'm usually within 5 minutes.
Right? It's so odd that like we can understand it, but and every culture has some form of measuring time or measuring items. But there are still cultures that maybe necessarily don't count things like we do. They might say like a group of something, but it's all got to do with our own perceptions and our own preconceived notions of how things are supposed to be. So I guess some people still don't want to believe, but I believe, and I don't have to get probed to believe.
You know, Ashes, for me, I'll always say this. It doesn't come down to believing. It's that you want to know. You want to see the facts. You want to be able to jump. You don't want to jump to conclusions. For me, just the term believing gets into, I believe in the Easter Bunny. I believe in Santa Claus. I believe in same thing here versus we know this is exactly where we may or may not be.
Well, yes, that's true. And there's also like the law of attraction too. Yeah. So if you put it out there in the universe that you want to run into somebody, like, I don't know, at least for me, if I'm thinking about somebody, sometimes they'll just show up in my life. It's kind of weird.
Exactly, my dear lady, exactly. I do have another video clips I want to jump up to next. Thank you for the great conversation. I've got one more clip here of Gary Nolan where he's coming in and talking about Skywatcher, talking about what he's observed with Skywatcher. And then from there, we've got another clip coming up of Carl Nell talking about the whole thing. They're here, kind of a dialogue, which seems to be a pattern. That's the kind of pattern I think we all like. Actually, I want to go to that one first. I know we just heard Gary talking about things, but I want to see Carl now. Think. Gotcha.
Thank you, Jim.
All right. Coming to us from our friends at the New Paradigm Institute. Let's go ahead and play this clip of Carl Nell taking the dance. If I want to go ahead and if I give an intro to this one, non-human intelligence exists. Non-human intelligence has been interacting with humanity on this planet. This interaction is ongoing. It's not new, and there is zero doubt. Same dialogue that we're hearing coming out of Dr. Gary.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you, Jim.
Let me bring this up here and get it up, and let's enjoy it.
Thank you, Jim. And let me just say it's humbling to be invited to address everyone today live from Washington, D.C. And it's actually quite an honor to participate with all of you on this historic occasion. I'd like to start by saying thank you to New Paradigm Institute and its organizers for the Herculean effort that's gone into setting up Global Disclosure Day really in record time, particularly Sarah Nelson, Danny Sheehan, Jim Garrison sitting next to me, and Katie Omrin, who've done yeoman's work just getting this thing off the ground. And I'd also like to say hearty hello and welcome to all the participants out there across the globe, as we said, on every continent, perhaps except Antarctica, to participate in this historic occasion. As Lou said and Ross alluded, progress on this topic would not be possible without the support and grassroots efforts of the folks that are participating in this chat and the folks that are in your guys' orbit. And so what actually is this topic, right? And Ross and Lou also have alluded to this. Non-human intelligence exists. Non-human intelligence has been interacting with humanity on this planet. This interaction is ongoing and it's not new. And there is zero doubt. But you already knew that. So how do we go about convincing other people that this is the case? Particularly people that aren't necessarily privy to all the information that some of us may otherwise be. And so there's three principal lines of effort, three principal sources of data. There's essentially the first principles argument, which basically says, counter to common belief, that life is common in the universe. How do we know life should be common in the universe? There's 20 billion sun-like stars in the universe. The sun is a population 1 star. There are planets like the...
Hold on a second here. He makes a great point, but I want to make another point. We're talking here now about how pervasive life should be in the universe, right? But Ashes, if you look back at how science is on this planet, how astronomy is on this planet, how the overall everything. Heck, we've had fragments of meteorites come in and hit the planet that have signs of, like, small little water creatures in it, embedded within it, right? Yet they do everything they possibly can to go ahead and deny that, we until we find it, nothing exists out there. Isn't that a bit feudalistic?
It's funny that you mentioned that, because we were talking about sea monkeys a couple weeks ago and how they can die and then come back to life, basically, if you just feed them a little bit of food.
Well, have you seen these fish that they're down in the ground in the mud and they're completely dehydrated and they're completely dried out? You just get them a little bit of water on them and they just spring back to life.
There's frogs too that will freeze and hibernate, be basically dead and then come back to life. I mean, there's so much life that we don't even see. If we breathe in, we know that the air is there, but we can't see it.
True.
We just go off of knowing. The knowing. And I do like that he did mention that. I know that he's controversial, but I do like that he said that, it does exist. And I hope that he can somehow come back around to advocating for the cause.
Yeah, it's a good shift. He's got a good, stable voice, comes across well. The audience loves him, and he brings on a good message, and it's part of a select group of individuals that are working as a great team to try and move disclosure forward. Up for watching some more?
Yes.
All right, here we go.
There's stars like the sun that are 5 billion years older than the sun. That's plenty of time for other civilizations to evolve on these other planets. There's recent scholarship that says that life evolved on Earth in the Hadean era. The Hadean era was before the crust even cooled. There's recent scholarship that says that microbes have been found in terrestrial rock that have dated to 2 billion years ago.
Hold on a second. Didn't I just say this? Ash.
Yes, yeah, you did. And like we said, there are things that we can't see, but it doesn't mean that they're not there. You take a microscope.
No, here we have proof of
things.
Here he's talking about proof of stuff that we have, yet people want to say there's no other life out there. That's what he's kind of getting into.
That's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, we're like ants compared to the world. If you stand next to a mountain or you stand next to the ocean, you know that feeling.
Absolutely. It's awe-inspiring.
Essentially in stasis. So life evolved here very quickly. There are many, many planets like the sun, and there are many, many planets that are much older than the sun. People that would argue that life is uncommon have to justify that proposition more than anyone would have to justify the fact that life evolves very quickly. The second point is faster than light travel. Everybody says faster than light travel is not possible. This is false. Miguel Alcubierre, a postgraduate student at the University of Mexico in 1994, solved Einstein's equations for an effective faster than light mechanism. NASA has investigated this. Everyone accepts his solution as valid. His solution requires negative energy. In 1960, quantum physics demonstrated or predicted the reality of negative energy. In the 90s, the Casimir effect was demonstrated in the laboratory. The Casimir effect demonstrates negative energy. The expansion of the universe, which is caused by dark energy, is negative energy. So we have a solution to Einstein's equations that allow effective faster than light travel. We've got the existence of negative energy proven. This isn't an engineering solution. This isn't a means where we can go and do this, but theoretically it's possible. And this is not.
Okay, theoretically it's possible. Now, what happens if you take everything we can do today, Ashes, and push that 500,000 years into the future? Million years.
You ever seen that movie, the time travel machine? I think about that when I think
the original one by
about-
Jules Verne, like the old black and white one, or the newer one?
Well, both of
The Time
them.
Machine, yeah.
I mean,
I've seen
it can get pretty wild.
You mean
How
like the
advanced
Morlocks
can we
live
get?
underground and come up and eat the humans? That kind of reminds us what goes on with those caves and Missing
Who
411.
knows? I just hope I don't run into any cannibalistic or whatever type of species. I don't want to do that.
I think you'll be fine.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And I taste like pork belly.
That's what they say, I heard. I heard we taste like pork. Bacon, I guess.
Yeah, but me, I'd taste like pork belly. I got a little bit of fat on
Yeah.
me, so you know.
What are those cows that they have where they pat them and everything in Japan? Are really...
Oh,
Wagyu.
Wagyu.
I would rather see myself as a Wagyu cow than a pig.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah, I get it. Well, you know, and pigs don't sweat, so.
$100 a pound versus $3.49. Under $3.
Yeah, and then I can definitely say, holy cow.
I have, oh, you know.
Oh, no. Oh, no, what'd I start?
Where's the cow at?
Moo.
I have holy cow. Oh, I'll play when I got it. I got a cow. That's not a holy cow.
Oh,
right,
I've got a bad dad joke. What do you call a cow with no legs?
A cow. What do you call a cow with no legs? Oh, what do you call a cow with no?
Ground beef. Ha 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 ha.
Gra-
It's terrible.
Got me on that one. Oh my. Let's continue.
Glad I could entertain.
Oh, you
Yeah,
did. Thank you.
I think this is where Mike would jump in and say, hey, I think we need to move on here.
Yeah, okay.
Argued by modern scholarship. So from a first principles, life is more than likely common, and we know that Einstein's equations support effective faster than light travel. That's the first principles argument. The second is the testimonial. Perhaps there are people out there that may know more than some of us might know, including people that have been in the intelligence community, such as myself. So we can look at several presidents, Barack Obama, President Trump. They both said UAP are real. We can look at, as was mentioned earlier, Chris Mellon, Dave Grush, Lou Elizondo have said non-human intelligence is real. We can look at Lord of the Fleet, Lord Hill Norton, a chief of the defense staff in the United Kingdom in past years, have said UFOs are real. We can look at the first Earl Mountbatten of Burma in the United Kingdom again, that have said UFOs are real. We can look at the chief of the Canadian Defense Ministry, Paul Hellyer, who have said non-human intelligence is real. We can look at Haim Eshed, who is the Israelis' father of their space program, who has said non-human intelligence is real. All these people and more would be in a position to know.
And I have to say this, I'll be getting in trouble, but I'll say it anyway. And there are foreign governments, there's allegiances of foreign governments over on the opposite side of the world from here, a little bit more to the Middle East, who are willing to spend whatever it's going to possibly take to go ahead and make sure that their countries are not affected, their civil population, their educational institutions, their science institutions, their governments, their religion. They are spending unbelievable gobs of money into putting programs together to go ahead and make sure that as stuff starts to be to come out, that their culture is going to be able to continue on. So it's something that's really important.
Then we can look at the evidence, the data. You've seen the videos, the floor video, the gimbal, the go fast. A lot of people probably don't know Gordon Cooper, one of America's 7 Mercury astronauts, chased UFOs over West Germany in 1951. He testified to that fact before the United Nations in 1978, analogous to the David Fravor Tic Tac incident.
Now, here's the thing, though. At that time, going ahead and flying, Ed, what would have been the top speed of the craft we had in 1951? Any thoughts?
Well, sure, it would be probably half what we could do today with a modern
200 miles an hour?
What's that?
200 miles an hour sound about right?
At about 300-400 miles an hour.
Okay, 300-400. Because I know, for instance, like the Red Arrows, when they're flying around the jet fighters, they go on average about 450 to 500 miles per hour.
Well, I can tell you, I can't tell you with any definitive proof, but I can tell you that we're never going to have an airplane that'll be fast enough to catch.
Oh, heck no. That's what I'm thinking. They've got a craft. They're trying to go ahead and chase the UFOs, and I've got videos of UFOs where they're going 13,000, 14,000 miles per hour, which basically means for every little dot that, you know, the plane moves on a video, the UFO moves like that much more, and it's just, there's no, you know, I'm not sure what he was chasing, but if they were, if Gordon Cooper, which it sounds like, did chase these things, it almost sounds like they slowed themselves down to feel like the humans for a bit. Maybe I can catch these things, and just popped out.
Well, you're absolutely right. And, you know, it's the same thing with David Fravor when he tried to catch one. They look like they're catchable until you start trying it, and then you discover they are not. But I said earlier, I can tell you where they put them. When they're not flying them, when they're on the ground, it'd be a good time to sneak up on one. And anybody that's listening could try this. Are you ready?
Yeah.
They're at the end of the rainbow.
There you go. One of those things, Ed. All right, let's get back to David Fravor and Tic Tac being talked about. So, yeah, these things, old times, even current times, no match. And it's not like the ET had a major technological revolution in the last 80 years. I think they're already pretty well advanced where it is. Maybe they could still be making advancements, but compared to us, not even a chance. Us, humans, for that matter. Here we go.
We can look at the UFO incursions over the northern tier ballistic missile early warning sites in the 70s, and the document supported and testimony supported readiness status change of our ICBMs in the 60s at Malmstrom Air Force Base, where many missiles were taken offline by a UFO. The analogous thing happened in the Soviet Union contemporaneously. In their case, the missiles were brought online. There's an agreement between the United States and, at the time, the Soviet Union, intending to reduce the threat of nuclear war, that talks about each party notifying the other if UFOs are impinging on their warfighting systems, because this was recognized as a
right. And this was coming out of between NORAD and the Soviet Union at that point in time, where if we saw something coming over, the pole, that we'd raise a flag to the Russians and say, hey, it's not us, it's a UFO, and they were doing the same for us. So we were both watching what was going on over the poles and coming out of that, going ahead and warning the others so to make sure we weren't going to accidentally trigger World War III. God, wouldn't it be the kicker if the ETs did that just to screw with us at times? In the same way that in the United States, they went and turned all of our missiles on. We couldn't turn them back on to launch if we wanted to. And in Russia, they actually started a countdown sequence for screwing with it, showing their dominance.
fact. There's documentary evidence. The Twining memo from 1947, General Nathan Twining, future Chief of Staff of the U.S. Air Force, wrote a memorandum that said the UFOs are most likely extraterrestrial. There's official Australian documents declassified on the National Archives of Australia from 1971 from their defense attaché that made a formal assessment of the United States' interest in UFOs, the reality of that, and the fact that the U.S. was investigating anti-gravity programs in concert with looking into UFOs, a conclusion that would make no sense unless the reality of this topic was demonstrated. So some people say, well, if this is real, why don't they fly over the White House or something? Well, in 1952, UFOs flew over Washington, D.C. over 2 weekends. There were radar visual sightings, there were air-to-air intercepts, and it created the largest press conference since World War II up to that time. People say, well, why don't they just land during the middle of the day? Well, that happened in 1994 at the Ariel School in Rura, Zimbabwe, where UFOs presented themselves with beings and occupants on the ground, witnessed by numerous children.
Okay, I got to bring this up and talk about this one because this is an important piece. So we're talking about Ariel's school in Zimbabwe, and the kid went and interacted with UFOs. It was a saucer came down, and they all kind of saw equivalent of small grays in their outfits and the whole bit outside of the craft. But when they saw them, it was almost like watching a glitching videotape, to where we're seeing the images going around of them walking, but it's like they were popping back and forth, almost like there is a break in time per se, or a shift in time, or something going on from the craft. The next thing is when the kids looked into the eyes of the non-human intelligence, they saw things like they were there. They saw the earth dying, saw the earth being starved of oxygen, different things in nature dying and everything. And more importantly than that, it conveyed an experience like you're there, but it also conveyed emotion. That's the key. They gave a memory to us coupled with an emotional piece. And in that's where it kind of gives an idea of, this is how they throw. I'm throwing dogs. This is how they throw stuff into us and communicate with us. And it's recognizing that for going back the other way. And that's where some of the stuff that what Skywatcher and what they're talking on has some weight to it, but it's I guess it's a multi-layered piece. They're going down a path that could get them there. Ashes, you have your hand up, my dear lady.
You ever try to tell a kid a secret? They don't hold secrets very well.
Get a secret? Yeah, never.
Yeah, so they kind of speak what's on their mind, and they're very truthful to the point where it could be detrimental to themselves. So I believe kids when they say they've seen something.
You mean the innocence of children, basically?
Yes.
And I'm going to say the husky barking for not being in.
Yeah, the fur baby. Exactly. They say things when we don't want them to say things.
Yep. On Mocha. There you go.
Animals are very perceptive too.
Yeah. Manipulative, like children.
They can be, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So back to Zimbabwe, the conversation, what was going on, and that's just something. Look for that pattern, folks. As you're seeing stuff, different people about connecting and different things, it's not just coming out there and saying, "Hey, hello, aliens. I want you to come and visit." It's a bit more complex and layered from that.
I agree with you, Thomas, and I think that Zimbabwe case is very interesting.
Yeah.
Not only the points that you brought up about them being able to see into the eyes of these aliens, but the consistency of their stories over 50 years or so.
Never changed.
There have been some documentaries. Most of these kids are now in their 60s, maybe 70s. They're old, older looking people, and they say exactly the same thing, and it's consistent across the board. Strong testimony. The only one at the time that was told you cannot talk about this was the teacher. He was told to keep his mouth shut. The kids were apparently so young they could not be influenced that way.
Well, I thought the teacher being threatened was from Westall, not from Zimbabwe.
Well, it may be. I may have those two reversed. But there was the other case then where you're absolutely right, where the teacher was told don't talk about it.
Yeah, it was in the United Kingdom, Australia, and it was a person from the local military and a person from the U.S. military that came and knocked on the guy's door and threatened him with basically his career, his life.
I think if something like that happened today, because there's so much more publicity going on about this, it would be broadcast all over the world and may make a big difference. Those of us that are studying this are very frustrated that guys like me and you and our audience, very loyal audience, we love you all.
Thank you, sir.
That we believe we don't have to be convinced. The question is, why is it that so many people do not see all of the things that are going on and say, you know what? It must be real. And I think the reason is because the government won't fess up to what they've known and have known for decades.
Call to disinformation campaign. The stigma that goes against professionals, goes against people in a lot of different areas. But again, part of the issue is this does... I'll just be blunt about it. And when you're talking about UFOs, it's like you're going to the frickin' grocery store, Ed. You got to make sure you don't wind up in the cereal aisle between the Fruit Loops and Lucky Charms, and that you're not stuck in bulk foods by the dried fruits and nuts. Now, beyond that, there is some good prime beef and good seafood you can get, and fresh vegetables.
I think the statement is you need to keep yourself balanced. You need to hit just small amounts of every one of those grocery aisles, if you want to use that analogy.
True. All right. Bear dogs. All right, let's get back to this video. Yeah, aerial thing, it's something that's personal for me just because of the truth of how these kids talk. Actually, let's get to Sergeant Daniel before we get back.
Yeah, the nukes, Robert Salas, I mean, he supposedly testified in front of Arrow. So, I mean, he's come out. And matter of fact, I let my wife listen to a commentary. He told the whole story. And I said to her, doesn't he sound like he's telling you the truth? I mean, he's sitting there as his wife's getting him dinner as he's talking on the, giving an interview. But, I mean, he really sounds like he's truthful, know. So, if that was in the 60s. So...
in the 60s or it was in the late 60s, right?
I thought so, yeah.
Or 70s, something like that.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. He's getting up there in age, but I guess he's put himself in a position where he wants to testify in front of Congress, but they didn't ask him to come.
Yeah, and he's talked to representatives. I think he actually met with Mace after the last hearing took place.
I mean, they got to believe him. I mean, why wouldn't they?
There's no reason why would this guy being off and trying to talk about the experiences, but there's so many more people out there like Richard, Bob, same thing.
Yeah.
Actually, not Richard. That's Bob or Robert. Robert Salas. Anyway, there's a lot of more people out there who are up in their ears and are getting to it, and they've kept a lot of this stuff secret. Hopefully, more people will start talking and bring the truth forward, because that's what disclosure is truly about. We're looking to the government.
Right.
The organization has been covering it up for 80 years to tell us the truth. I think we need to reset our expectations where we should expect the truth to come from.
Well, it's good that he's bringing in a historical view of it, because usually people's interest only go, what was last week. So it's good that, he's bringing the whole historical thing into it, because when you put it all together, you'd win a court case with that for sure.
Oh, absolutely, my friend. Let's continue on. We're almost done with this, and here we go.
The exact same incident happened in 1966 in West Hall, Australia. The people that witnessed those events are still alive, and they continue to state the assertion of that being a factual occurrence. So these things taken together, along with much other evidence, suggest that this is absolutely true. And I'm speaking to you today to tell you that there is zero doubt this is absolutely true. I know this personally.
So, zero doubt, this is absolutely true. I'll say I'm there. From the shit that I dealt with as a kid and the footage that I have that I've seen as an adult, take the footage I've seen as an adult. Absolutely true. We're dealing with stuff that is well beyond humanity. Good thing. At least we know it's there.
So the way to solve this problem is to motivate the grassroots. Political activism is the solution to restoring proper oversight, developing a process for responsible disclosure, and advancing society through the efforts of that process.
If we could only get political activism like the way it's been brought together against Tesla. Let's take those options, and that method, I guess, will cost a lot of money to get the same message across for UFOs. Ed, what's...
Well, I think he said the same thing I said, but he did it much better. And that's exactly what we were talking about earlier. We just need to let these whistleblowers come out. We need to let the public talk, because the government is just not going to cooperate with us on this disclosure issue. But Carl brings up some many good points. That was a very interesting tape you played there, Thomas, and I think we ought to do everything we can to bring this forward. My question is, why are they not dragging him into court? He has those security clearances, and to come out as definitively as he did would seem to be violating a non-disclosure agreement of some type. I always think about what trouble he might be in for saying that.
I don't know. How do you put this? How do you be honest about it? And bring it up. Why did he kind of pull back from some of the different areas with regards to UFO disclosure?
You think maybe he was coming on too strong with it and letting some cat out of a bag that maybe he shouldn't have done?
Maybe something got to him?
Yeah, possibly.
Who knows? But it's just something you have to go ahead and look at and just not accept and say, oh, he just got tired of it. He walked away from it. And you just think, wow, he's had a lot invested in this.
Well, I said this, it's been now over a year when he was at the Seoul conference last year, not the most recent, but the one a year ago. I said, he is just really sticking it out there. And I think you're right. He's pulling back now, and maybe he regrets being as assertive as he was. Although you look in his eyes, it sure looks convincing, everything he says.
It is. However, look at his face in the recent videos from him. This is a little bit older. He's put on some weight lately pretty quickly.
Now you're hitting a sensitive subject there, Thomas. You better watch it.
Oh, trust me, I've already put a bunch of weight on, which could mean potentially he has a health issue or something going on as well. You never know.
Yeah, I don't know. I really think it's more about what he's talking about. That's how I would call it.
Yeah, I hear you. Stress. Well, stress can do it to you, but also if you're sick and they put you on prednisone, trust me, prednisone. We deal with it. All right. Oh, God, we're only at 7:06, and that's what happens when we don't have Mike here to stretch the conversation a bit long. You know, I'm
trying to be with you there, my friend.
Oh, you're here, my friend. I'm
your Mike backup tonight.
Oh, I know that. And I do have a story here. Moose, I keep on giving. Cut your nails while they're waiting. Where is this at? I've got a story here in X that I wanted to bring up.
Is he busy with his washing machine? Did he ever get a fix?
Well, the parts aren't going to be showing up for the washing machine, I think, until Wednesday. Now, I did...
He must be busy hand washing all his stuff right now.
He can't or any of that stuff. Maybe they sent him off to the laundromat, but if they did that, he'd call because then he would have escaped. Okay, there's a story that's out there that Argentina's President Milei has declassified documents that confirms frickin' mustache man Hitler escaped to Argentina after World War II and America aided him. Has anyone else heard this, Laura?
I just heard it in passing today, and my first thought went to anybody out there who has read Secret Machines book. All of them, they get into the whole, it's supposed to be just a story, but they get into that as well. Argentina, and Nazis and what was going on with that.
Yeah, so
there's your UFO connection.
Yeah, so if I bring up the post, Argentina's President Milei has declassified documents which confirms that Hitler has fled to Argentina after World War II, aided by America, where he lived for another. He had 2 children, apparently 2 daughters. Alice?
I've heard that for years, and the paperclip project that we had here when we took all of the German scientists, there were quite a few. I thought in Argentina. 6. There were like 1,200 or something, a lot of them. So I know we were involved with Germany right after that. So it does make sense. And I've heard that he was in Argentina I've heard that he was there for about 20 years now.
Yeah.
So pretty interesting.
It all, I saw this on multiple parts of my feed today, and then I saw the stuff from Redacted, and it was, oh boy, you're going to have to do a deep dive on that one when I have time.
Yeah, I like Redacted a lot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Not the Gary Nolan stuff. Hey, look, there's a pipeline. Aurora Borealis there. I know somewhere up here. No, we don't want that. All right, the first map of human brain mitochondria. Another way to look at the brain. Howling Huskies. All right, here I found the story. This one is coming from DefenseScoop.com on X. This came in about 4 hours ago after work for me. So UAP disclosure advocates call for transparency on drone incursions. Brandy Vincent reports on recent meetings that took place on Capitol Hill. Which meetings? Remember how we talked about Elizondo was going to be with Christopher Mellon. We had the pictures with Tim Burchett and everything. We've got an article here with a bit more detail that I probably want to get into. So let me get a picture up here for us all to go ahead and look at. I'll get into the text of getting into get into it. Good at that. Good at that. All right, so as we talked about earlier, Lou Elizondo, Chris Mellon returned to Capitol Hill last week for closed-door discussions with several lawmakers. Two former defense officials were talking about Lou Elizondo and Christopher Mellon met with lawmakers to discuss the issue of emerging challenges associated with UFOs and including drones. Quote, I'm confident that next steps are not only going to follow, but I think we're going to see potentially even more progress this year than we've even seen in the last 7. Lou Elizondo told Defense Scoop in an interview shortly after departing from those meetings. Now, Lou spent much of his early career, as we know, working in the shadows as an intelligence officer and handling counterinsurgency and counterespionage. Currently under, let's jump past this. All right, so under RO, the Pentagon's scope expanded, as we know, to investigate not just UFOs, but other types of UAP. We're talking about the things that go in the water, not necessarily the things that are UAS, because anything that's UAS, which basically a drone, goes off to a different area. So now they're just dealing with transmedium. Things in space, things in the air, and things in the water, which I handled all the way along at least. So Elizondo said his team for the series of meetings last week included Mellon, 2 attorneys, of which I think that was Ivan Hanel, who's been on here before. He'll be back on Disclosure tonight again soon, and a security representative. They met in person with lawmakers and staff from multiple offices, including one senator, as well as Anna Polina Luna, Tim Burchett, and Eric Burleson. Officials from several of those offices acknowledged the meetings, but declined to provide comments regarding specific discussions. Quote, the purpose was twofold. One was to offer our assistance in helping them find the information they're looking for, and 2, I think, increase transparency on the UAP topic that is often misunderstood and not very well appreciated. But here's the thing. The people who they met with, Burleson, Burchett, and Luna, except the person in the Senate who we're not quite sure who that could be. That's the secret. We got to find out who that person was. Every one of those people is very deeply entrenched in the UAP topic, and this is something they're not approaching out of left field. So, and we are now seeing with drone incidents coming from Lou again, that it's becoming increasingly more difficult to differentiate between the typical or classic UAP type incursions and signatures and those of drones. I think one of the things we have to look at is the overall movement characteristics. If you have something that can loiter in the air like a UAP and have instantaneous acceleration from 0 to like 14,000 miles an hour in a split second, there are still, I think, defining factors that say whether it's ours or not ours. What do you think, Laura?
I think it's pretty complicated because of the advances we've made with all this technology and all the secretive agencies outside of government that could be using this equipment. So we still have to look at the physics of it all.
Right.
And it's that's why it's a tough puzzle. And I think obviously that there's so much secrecy about it. We're not going to be told anything. So I just wanted to bring this up too, talking about people in government and Jack Sarfati. Are we absolutely sure he's not going to be brought in to, say, a meeting with Trump in April sometime to discuss these kind of topics, the science behind it.
He is claiming he is.
I think he is. I think look for that in April perhaps, and maybe they won't even announce it, but Little Bird might have told me that could be going on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
let me just jump in here, Thomas. I've talked to Jack directly, and he has said he has an identified date to meet with him in April.
There you go. I have a good source.
Guide him and help him so he doesn't jack off.
Be Jackie.
He likes to, don't. We just got to make sure he doesn't get riled up a little or not. He goes like from 7 to freaking infinity. There is no 10 or 11 for him.
Yeah,
Wouldn't you like
find another 85-year-old guy that gets around like he does. I mean, he's amazing at that age.
Oh, I know. Trust me, I know. Oh my goodness, yes. Going 2007. Oh, there we go. Back to the article with what Lou was talking about and everything. They discussed how, as Lou put it, quote, drones can now do in 2017, which we only could dream of. Yeah, I think that's a great place to look at it. 2017, every year, the capabilities of this technology is more than doubling every single year, if not more. So, yeah, 2017 is like looking at an iPhone from 2017 versus today. Big leap forward in technology for what we've got. So Lou noted that cutting-edge battery technologies also now allow unmanned aerial systems to deploy for longer flights with better power options, newer and lighter materials such as carbon fiber, and are more accessible and affordable to use, and innovations in motors reducing wear and wear and tear on modern systems. So drones are now being used like never before, and in fact, we're seeing Ukraine. The lethality of these drones is to the point now where there are more casualties caused by a drone than there are by the artillery. Artillery. All right, so this is changing warfare. Now, if there's one thing that we haven't learned since 9/11, it's we don't seem to be taking emerging technologies very seriously. But here, Lou in the past has talked about this and gone off with regards to the UFO situation we have today in the national security risk that we have is equivalent to Pearl Harbor and 9/11 combined. I think you said that in the past. If that's the case, we can look at 9/11, but we're just in a bad situation where you think it's just that, Laura, I mean, the U.S. Air Force has been overseeing this perpetuity. Is that they're just like, yeah, they're there. They haven't changed much. They're still doing the same shit now that they did back in the 50s. They don't fuck with us. They're not really a threat, so not worth our time. They are just so out there, you know. Is you maybe think they've got a little bit of defeatism in them because they've been trying to figure it out, and they're just like,
the Air Force, if you look at the history, they have been the number one agency group that has been part of the cover-up, right? So I've never enjoyed, I mean, God bless all the soldiers and that, but the higher ranks within the Air Force, no. I would say, however, a lot of people say that they tend to look more at the space junk lately. And so now we have Space Force, so they're more involved with it. Navy was involved with a lot of stuff. And I think they all kind of compete with each other, and there's egos involved with all this. Air Force, I think maybe there's a certain individual that wants to get the truth out and has been working towards that. So, and again, they work with these other aerospace companies.
Now,
so
one thing about ARO and the Air Force, right? Every piece of data, and this is in the law, and you know on this, they're going to be they're going to be go ahead and following through this to the letter. Every single piece of data that hits ARO is shared to the National Air and Space Intelligence Center. That's their location that they've got. Here's another shot of the new building they've put together. And I believe this is run out of the Air Force. And so all the data that we've got going to ARO is still going back to Air Force, every single piece of it.
It's like a funnel.
Yes. Oh, it's like, what do you call that? What was, not echelon. Immaculate Constellation.
Mm-hmm.
Collect, find all the data, bring it down, disseminate it, all that kind of stuff. And well, NASIC, you figure out how would they have access to all the data? Well, if RO is supposed to be getting access to all the data, RO is handing the public disinformation campaign, if you want to call it, this organization. What are they doing with all the data? I don't think it's ever been asked.
Good point. And it does concern me with this meeting that's going to be taking place. And who invited them? What is it? The Pentagon has that much control over everything that takes place. Anything that's discussed is going to be silenced immediately as well. So what? And then what power do the Congress people have? What can they do other than stop funding? What can they do?
Well, you're bringing up a really good point that talked about on here for a long time with respect to any of the legislation, all the different things that come forward that it's promised, and look, it's going to be a law, and look, it's in National Defense Authorization Act or the Intelligence Authorization Act, and these are all the things that they say under the law that they're going to have to do. That of what they're supposed to follow and the accountability, there's no teeth in anything. So they can disobey all these different areas unless Congress gets pissed off and goes after them with lawyers and everything else, which, by the way, they never do. Any of the shit that they say that they're supposed to have that says, oh, my God, look how great this is. Look what we're going to get with disclosure. And it goes nowhere because all it is a bunch of hot air and more. I mean, great ideas, but if you don't have the ways to claw at something and attach to it and force it to be enacted, we're just dealing with a bunch of hot air, and we're dealing with empty promises.
And it's not going to matter because the average citizen doesn't understand everything that's taking place, so that they're apathetic about the whole thing. So they're not going to be pressuring anybody. They're not going to be making any phone calls to their representatives. So they know that. Right.
And NASIC, by the way, is run out of Wright-Patterson. It's been there since 1943. Really took off in 1947, by the end of 47. Gee.
What happened then?
I wonder what happened. Yeah. Oh, they've been around for a while.
I am hopeful, though. There's an education program that's taking place with the media, with movies, and hopefully it gets out to more people, and hopefully more people will start questioning things. That's the biggest challenge.
With regards to there being some disclosure coming through the executive branch, I'm not getting a no at this point. Not getting a negative kind of a thing coming in and saying, don't even ask. It feels like we've got something that's going to be there, but it just requires a bit of patience.
Yeah. And as you can tell in this community, a lot of people don't have patience. And they're angry, and there's a lot of disbelief, and then they give up. They say, I'm sick of waiting. And it's just like, just calm down. Calm down. I think things will eventually, like Nolan said, eventually the truth will come out.
And I don't think we're too far away. We will have things going on this year. Maybe not the landing on the lawn of the White House, but We'll see.
Perhaps an egg in a desert somewhere.
Yeah. So it sounds like in the conversation, what's going on with Lou, or at least that I talked about over in Defense Group, it just sounds like, I guess maybe government is getting a little bit more serious with what's going on, but Congress has been trying on things for a long time, and it hasn't been able to get anywhere. I would have been more positive at this point now, even with Lou, if that there was communications going between Lou and not just Congress, but Lou and the executive branch. That would mean major things coming our way.
Right. That's the big block.
Okay, let's see the bottom of this here. Okay, I've got some more quotes here from Lou to finish it off. Lou said, we discussed the need for certain administrative tools and mechanisms to be implemented, which Congress has the authority to implement, to force elements within the intelligence community and the defense community to be more forthcoming, not only with unclassified information, but with classified information, Lou had said. The lawmakers were also keen to connect on, right, just roll on me. Right, okay, I'll connect on some of the biggest concerns about expectations management in the context of their constituents, demands for this government documentation and oversight for UAP-related projects and materials according to Elizondo. So biggest concerns about expectations management. Oh, what, another 7 years and we don't like it, Ed?
Well, let me back you up a little bit. I'll catch up with that question, but back you up to where Laura was talking about this being a big funnel that feeds into the Air and Space Intelligence Center.
Yeah.
It's not a funnel, it's a sponge. Nothing ever comes out. It just soaks all that stuff up. I mean, think of the last time you've seen a definitive press release out of that center that had anything in it of any relevance. So, they collect it, but they don't. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to give it to you.
Well, when we had Schumer, right? And Schumer and Rounds put together the UAP, call it UAP Disclosure Act, right? They put it out there. Well, after they put it out there, there was no press, there was no movement, there was no statements, there was no speeches. There was nothing about it. Not until it got to the end did they make a play for it. Oh, we need to make this thing. Vote for it.
Well, they did, but also remember they stripped out a lot of the protection for whistleblowers, which kind of slowed things down in the process.
But you know what? Okay, so you go this year without whistleblowers. Next year you put whistleblowers in. Let through what you can get through, and the next year keep on following up with the pieces that didn't make it. Write it in a way to get it through.
Well, that's true, and I think I may be repeating what I said earlier, but for Laura's benefit, when she says, "I hope people really start coming forth with this," I think they are. And if I were to characterize it, the people like us are wanting it just a little faster than the people who are delivering it. But you've got to admit, what's come out in the last 3 or 4 or 5 years has been more than we'd seen in the 50 years preceding it. Now, back to the other thing, a couple of points I wanted to make back on the Air Force issue. And I think that whatever this is, or combination of what it is, the NHI, is expressing itself a little bit more to the military than it used to, from some of the releases we've got. I can tell you personally, as a pilot from 1972 to 1995, I did not see anything that looked abnormal in the sky. So it wasn't like every pilot was seeing them on every flight. But the other point, too, is when we finally started seeing them, the ones that were reporting were the Navy, because the Navy had encouraged its pilots to come out and tell the truth, whereas the Air Force has never taken that position. And I think a lot of Air Force pilots probably today are seeing things that they're unwilling to come forth for fear of losing their reputation or their standing within their squadron. They just kind of keep quiet. Everything keeps moving on.
Yeah.
And that's what's holding part of that disclosure back, too.
Oh, absolutely. We're gonna, I can't wait to see where it's gonna go. But in the wake of not a lot of things going on with disclosure, we're finding new things to talk about. Who doesn't love seeing a video about a tornado and different things? And I've gotten into a really cool group of people who chase auroras and tornadoes. So expect some more videos popping up about stuff. This is a tornado from a couple of years ago. Anniversary of today. It was a scary one, but yeah, we're going to be seeing a lot more really cool footage as it's coming along. Also, beyond that, something else. Here is a cool little clip today. There's a, I believe there was a, I have a different video that had not as good as this one, not as close. Let me get this one up here really quick. This is coming to us. There's a liftoff of a German rocket in Norway. However, what goes up when it comes to a German rocket must come down. Boom. Yeah, didn't make it. Did not make it. A bluey. Poor Germans. And then, we had all the great auroras that were going on last week. Well, guess what? The development of region 4048 over the past 48 hours has been phenomenal. It's growing quite rapidly. We're talking about a giant sunspot right here that's starting to grow in size relatively quickly. Now, anything phenomenal about this particular sunspot? Yeah, the one that just had that huge coronal mass ejection that we're showing earlier in the week. Actually, I believe on the last show that went off, that would have been a let's go wipe out all the satellites kind of an event. Yeah, it was this one, and now it's growing, and it's starting to come off the western edge of the sun as we're facing it, and it's getting into Earth firing range. So we'll see where this goes. Worst case, it could do nothing. Mid case, we could get some great auroras. Hell, in best case. Not sure why I'm backwards on that, but Ashes, your hand is up, my dear lady.
This is where I wish you had that money, 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 money.
Oh, yeah. Here, okay. All right. I'll get in trouble for this one. I probably can't show that. No, I won't show that one.
Okay.
We got the tornadoes. We got that. We got crazy huskies. Oh, God, this is horrible. So this is a woman.
I was going to say that both sides are funded, individual politicians are funded by programs that are funding the war machine.
Oh, yeah.
So,
but I want to know, who is fighting the Civil War machine. Because now, this was yesterday. Horrific footage shows a 60-year-old woman driving her Tesla being boxed in by another driver and then being beaten while still inside of her car. The woman was able to fend off the attacker by biting him. She showed no
sign. Yeah, it's ridiculous. They are hurting themselves. They are hurting everybody else. They're not accomplishing anything. That's
either an old people. I think that's like an old freaking 90s freaking Cavalier. Or is that
and somebody else got ran over by a car.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's pretty messed up.
It's literally a civil war. It's
yeah, you don't do that. Like you don't buy the stock. Don't, if you don't like a company, don't buy the stock.
Don't take it out on the people.
Whatever, but you don't violently erupt and shoot off random fires to hit somebody.
It's like we're going to have Android, iOS, people who own iOS devices are going to start targeting people who have Android phones because we can't tolerate them anymore.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I was going to say that they're funded by the war machine, right? So they're not going to do something that could because you have to have money to run.
Yeah.
As a politician, you just have to have money. And that's why I really like Tim Burchett, is because he gets he goes and hits the streets and he gets money from individuals, not from PACs, not from super PACs, not from, like these big companies and stuff. But on both sides, individual politicians are being funded by like Lockheed Martin, which makes money off of the technology and everything that is produced. And of course, they're always putting out airplanes, which are pretty much obsolete because now we can run AI drones and everything that are actually less expensive. And oh, there he is. There he is.
Yeah, along with his donkeys, the Jailbreak sisters, Lily and Daisy.
Oh,
His two donkeys. We played a video of him on Saturday when he was walking around in his yard with the donkeys, and he brings around a big tub of peppermint candies.
He's just a real genuine, like down to earth type person.
Yeah.
Anybody could talk. I bet you we could get him on this show. I bet you we could.
Oh, other things were done. That didn't come from me. Kind of
I think
screwed
he's
up that
really
as a
busy, though, right
possibility.
now.
What?
I think he's probably really busy right now, just like Elizondo's pretty busy at the moment.
Yeah, I think so.
But what I was gonna say is I'm wondering if Disclosure, and it was funny because Mr. Grimwan posted about Signal and how stuff leaked on Signal. I'm wondering if the way that we get disclosure about extraterrestrials might have to be quote unquote accidental.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That could be one way of exposing.
I see a title card in this picture's future. It was generated with AI, which means it's non-copyrightable, and we can use it. I like this. It's a cool picture of the White House.
Nice. But yeah, and I mean, like, we've even seen UFOs over the top of the White House before, but they never said anything about it. It was like less than 60-second clip,
right. Got that one. I guess we never played the other clip of Gary. And I kind of owe that to the audience. See if I can get the bookmark on that, or if I can find the second one. Nolan. Here he is. Oh, it was a telepathic one. All right. So this is a second clip from Gary. Sorry it's taken so long for us to get here, but we finally did. Don't leave us. Here we go. And by the way, if you're having a good time, give us a freaking thumbs up. Ask for your friends to watch the show. Give us a thumbs up. What the heck? We're like losing people. What the heck happened?
Show us some love.
Show us some love. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thumbs up would be great. Appreciate it, friends. Let's get into this. So, okay, Gary Nolan talking about Skywatcher observed some unexplained things. So, yeah, there is another Skywatcher episode coming soon. We just didn't get a chance to cover the details. I guess we could cover that. Why not? Let's get into this. Let's play this clip. All right, here we go.
Up and down the eastern seaboard, drones seen all up and down the eastern seaboard, and people had pictures of them and claimed drone incursions over airports and over military establishment, and it was all over the news, and if people wanted to, they can just go look it up. We saw that as an opportunity to test our capabilities, and so we were out there collecting information. And to be honest, the majority of the things that we saw were conventional drones of some sort. There were a few things that...
Bingo. You hear that? Ashes? Majority of the things that we saw out there were drones. Now, small percentage, like in all places, they're going to find something interesting. But yeah, a lot of people are saying, oh, what we had on the East Coast, it was definitely non-human.
There are, yeah, well, everything is non-human that's not a human, right? And so therefore, drones has been used to explain away a lot of things. And it's not always drones, but I do believe that there are a majority that are drones, because I've studied, as I go again, I have studied, thank you, Mr. Grimlock. I have studied DARPA's programs. They're very interesting. And we do have motherships, like ships that actually go out on the ocean and can launch these AI controlled drones. And now they have the Neuralink, the N3, it's not Neuralink, it's N3 chip that does not have to be installed in your brain, but can control things. And if we were using it in the right way, it could advance like medical technology or people who are paralyzed or whatever. But instead, we always seem to twist things into using it for war, of course. Because that's where the money is.
Oh gosh, yes. Technology is money, and if they can figure out a new platform to do something that's revolutionary, and where is the real money with technology at? Ashes? Technology for war. Just like all of these robots you're building, do you think they're actually being developed to go ahead and sweep your frickin' floors and fold your clothes? No, they're being developed as fricking war machines. We're just getting the leftovers.
That, if we put them in our house, they can watch us and they can watch what we do. And then, can you imagine trying to put up a fist against metal?
No.
Yeah, it's can get scary. And I told my
also
mom,
getting fisted by metal could be scary too. Yeah.
Yeah. We won't go there.
No.
But anyways,
it's the same symbol they have for socialism, where it's the giant fist.
Oh my gosh, right. Yeah. Where was I going with this? I forgot. You lost my I lost my mind a while ago, but now I forgot. Sergeant Daniel's got his hand up anyways.
Yeah,
I'll go for now.
Yeah, if you he's just about to get into the fact that, well, there's a few things though, and those are the few things that we want to pay attention to, and that's what he's talking about. I think that there wasn't as many as people said there were, but they were up there, sure as shit.
Oh yeah, I know.
Because they're always up there, and that's probably what they were doing, is using the drones to kind of get a good look at them.
I honestly have a feeling. No, honestly, I have a feeling about this situation in regards to the drones that were on the East Coast. They were looking for something. They weren't just going up there randomly testing and doing loop-de-loops and all different kinds of shit, whatever it was. No, they were on a grid-based search. They were looking for something.
I still think that I definitely saw stuff that looked like drones, airplane-looking drones, a couple of them. But, the ones over the airports, the ones that the pilots were seeing that were doing, flying out to the ocean.
There were some videos that I downloaded early on with that they were different. It wasn't just normal planes. And there was one video that was really good that was actually shot by someone coming and landing in New York or something like that. That was a really freaking good video. And I know I've got it around here somewhere.
There's a ton of them. And I think, they throw that up as a smoke screen because, people look up, they'll see those. If half the people are looking up and they're seeing just regular drones, well, then they can call it all drones. So
this
I think
started
Trump wasn't telling
around
the truth.
November.
I don't think Trump was telling the truth. I think, he avoided the whole thing by having her come out and make that stupid statement. But hopefully he'll be able to redeem himself and get some credibility back.
Yeah.
Because nobody believes that there was nothing there.
Of course there was something there.
Right. I don't know. You can't just accept the fact that it could be all three. There could have been people looking for something, Thomas, like you said. We were talking possible radiological effect or whatever.
Course, yeah.
And that could be followed by NHI sending a few ships up to see what we were doing, which could be followed by American drones trying to figure out what the NHI ships were doing.
Yeah, I've got all the videos. I was just going through. I've got all my folders here of all the different stuff. Was that it? You know, I've got a lot of the different shots that were made back at that time when that was all going on. This is just one of the shapes where it just didn't make sense for what we're dealing with. See if I can find that one video. Luna redact. No. Whenever you see stuff like this, you have to download it. You have to create a local copy of it, because otherwise some things you'll see on the internet will be up there and they'll be gone the next day. Probably not it. Oh, this one was really cool. This is one that was out of, I think, California or something that happened that went on. This is something that was up in the sky and had this thing kind of like, and you look at it and it's humanoid shaped. Wherever the hell this is, I don't think it's ever been debunked yet. I held that up there. Everyone can see me. Everyone's quiet on this one. Michael, what do you think? Your hands up, my friend.
I think it's time for an audience survey. That's what I think.
Oh. Yeah.
And we've probably taken this one before, but yeah, time for an audience survey.
Audience survey, and survey says, what do you want to ask the question?
You're the master at this, so
oh.
I'd prefer you wrote it.
Should we end the show?
How about government tech or UFOs for the drones?
Yeah, that sounds good.
No, because it was a combination of both. That's
well, it's a third choice. You not got a third choice?
I say all three.
Exactly. There were some sightings that I saw that definitely were UFO-like orb behavior. We had a bunch of things that were a bunch of anomalous drones that were going on at that time, but it was an advanced drone platform, and it was the skies in some of the stuff too, as far as how it looked, and it looked like it was a large jet, but it was down a lot smaller, and it was like doing almost like really tight banking and turning, which is completely impossible for.
Well, let's ask the audience, see what they think.
About what?
So what's your three choices? NHI, drones only, or all three, or whatever?
Seeing things coming up from the audience as I'm looking at this audience. Be my 13th man. All right. So what will Trump? No.
I do agree with you, though, Thomas. I believe that it was all of the above.
It is.
And I'm asking the audience right now what they think we should do a survey on.
Oh,
okay.
I was the one that had the idea that it was all three. So give me some credit there.
Oh, I think we all had the same idea, Mr. Ed, and Mike's replacement tonight, little Henri Pants.
And okay, the drones were U.S. government, foreign government. Well, next one we're gonna go with NHI/E. And add the next option, all of above. There you go.
Perfect.
Bingo.
Absolutely perfect.
We got it. All right. So I think I got the survey that works. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right. Let's get to it. And where's the music? Gotta have sound effects for this. And by the way, Ashes,
Holy cow!
OJ had the holy cow.
Wait, that cow is not holy. It's just got spots.
All right, all right, we've got a survey. Hey, Google, set a timer for 1 minute and 30 seconds. 1 minute. I've never done a survey like this before, where we've had 3 different topics and then saying all of the above. Okay, so the drones were on the East Coast. We're talking New Jersey. We're not talking all the different stuff, just over the New Jersey drones. From the the New Jersey drones. U.S. government, foreign government. Wow, foreign government. A lot of people don't think it's the Iranians. You knew said that was Kirsten Gillibrand blaming it on the Iranians.
The big mother boat off coast.
Oh yeah, someone did say that from the House of Representatives, didn't they? Survey said.
Well, they sure did. Yay to everybody that's saying all of the above.
Yeah, that's a big chunk of people there.
Oh yeah, it is.
I can't. I'm not allowed to politic in the middle of a poll, or am I?
Guys, talk. I have to excuse myself for 30 seconds or 45 seconds, whatever it takes. Ed, talk through what we got about we'll go until I get back. Would you look at that 79 votes and, see if we can get at least to 100 votes. Come on, folks.
Well, we're sure giving it a try. What are we sitting at on the count now? It's only 79 votes. We need to get a few more people in there and vote on this. And while we're doing that,
we need more people to vote for the NHI.
Well, I think we're missing the point. If one of them or any of them, if Trump would have come out and said one of them was NHI, well, then he just had disclosure. So, I think the poll should maybe next time be were any of them NHI. And, if you look at those 2 brothers in New Jersey, I mean, they were talking about getting immobilized and having weird shit happen to them. And I don't think that's a government drone doing that. So
no, they're doing some serious research too and coming up with a lot of good answers. And I didn't want to, we're slowing down trying to pick topics, but I didn't want to point out we didn't include sightseers. Obviously some of those, I don't know how many, are just people putting their drones up themselves to look at other drones. So
yeah, well, I mean, if you put yourself in Trump's stance, if he said, yeah, there were a couple up there there were a bunch up there that we have no idea what they were, then I mean, or we do know what they are, but they're NHI or
Well, yeah, that's true. I think we should have expected a more accurate answer, but you recall that would have
been disclosure. It would have been an absolute disclosure right there.
Now, one of the things I have to say really quick was one of the scenarios, Ed, was potentially they were putting all those drones up there is because there were NHI drones or NHI that were flying around. And so the best way to go ahead and distract people from the actual events that was going on would be by flooding the skies with our own drones, right?
Well, it could be. But now let's not forget what the FAA said. The first statement out of the FAA is we have no clue whatsoever as to what any of these are. The second statement out of the FAA was, it's all under control. We gave them permission to fly. So, there's a whole spectrum of difference there.
Yeah. Spectrum of difference.
I just want to go on the record and give Ed credit since he requested it. Because if you know me and you know Ed, we tease each other all the time out of love. Thank you.
Oh, I'm touched with that, Ashes. I'm really touched. So it looks like we got it, Thomas. Looks like the people are agreeing. 60%.
60% of the audience. There you go. Absolutely 60% of the audience. Let me go ahead and end this. Actually, let me take a screenshot first for posterity and the poll so we can keep it. Yes, we got 94 votes and not quite the 100 we wanted to get, but there you go. 60% of the audience did pick all of the above, meaning it's NHI, ET, foreign government, or U.S. government. But coming in second with a good, strong 26%, saying, yeah, the stuff over the East Coast was U.S. government. Only 1% of the people believing it's from China or Iran. Thank God. Because if it was from them, Ed, wouldn't that have been an act of war?
It would, or Russia. We need to throw in Russia there too as a possibility. It would have been. Well, it should have been. In fact, it should have been when the Chinese flew the slow-flying balloon over the United States and took how many pictures? of a military facility.
And they actually had
That's
little drones that they could go ahead and deploy from this thing that would fly around and give them more data.
Yeah, like when the U-2 was shot down over Russia. I mean, they didn't say, well, you go ahead and fly all over. That's okay. Well, where do you get off the coast? So we'll shoot you down there so it doesn't create debris falling on us.
Exactly. We'll talk about debris falling from the sky at that time of the night. It
is. Now, before you do that, I'm kind of getting bold here, taking over Mike's role. Keep waiting for him to show up, but the guy's not here. And I just want to make one observation about the display and the video right now that's not about my chair. Have you noticed the similarity between my shirt color and Kelly's blue eyes? Have you noticed that?
Oh, yes, I have. The brightness right in there. Absolutely.
It's in there. I did that as a tribute to Kelly.
It's actually also I should have been wearing the blue hoodie. We would have matched.
Oh, that would have been great. Yeah, I like that, Thomas.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm starting to act like Mike, aren't I? This is scary. Yeah, Thomas, we got a good show going tonight. Let's see what the audience said. Blah, 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 right?
Exactly. We can just never go blah, blah, blah. We just got to get there. On that note, I want to go ahead and thank everybody for coming, actually, for our super chats tonight. Got some great support coming to us in the end of the month. Thank you very much, Mr. Grimlock. Thanks to Ashes, of course, Geraldine Durazio. Ed asking about the Miami Mall. No, wasn't the aliens. Anonymous Rex, yeah, speaking of some dead cats here, still no aliens on the White House lawn. Dead cats? As long as you're on a cop car and you're sounding like a police siren, get it for me on video, please. Also, Ashes on air showing some love. Thank you very much for starting on the super chats tonight. My dear lady, more importantly, I want to thank everybody for coming out for tonight's show. Thank you to everybody in the audience. Thanks to everybody in the back. I get to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. So as we usually say at the end of every episode of Disclosure tonight, eyes open, no fear. I'll be calling you soon, Mike. Take care, everybody. Actually, no.
Go back to Party City where you belong.
Absolutely. And we'll catch you on the flip side. Take care. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.